Hello and welcome to Cherries in Focus, episode 29 here on Cherries Red Army. Back-to-back draws for AFC Bournemouth. We didn't lose, but was it points dropped? Please do subscribe to the channel here. We are so close to 2,000. I've been saying that for a few weeks now, but we are less than 20 subscribers away from 2,000. So do your stuff. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers very, very quickly. Do smash the like button to help this video grow between now and kickoff against Fulham. And of course, use those comments. The interactive chat is open. So get involved. I want to use tonight really to really dive in the chat. How are you feeling about the fixture against Nottingham Forest? How are you feeling about the game against West Ham? What's eating away at you? And what did you like? What didn't you like? And let's see if we can dive in there and ask the panel what they think as well. Let's go around the room then, as we usually do. Steve, Hensman, hope you're doing well. Good to see you at Dean Court. Not the result we wanted. You're only here for half of the show, unfortunately, but we'll get as much out of you as we can. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Lovely to see everyone. Welcome to everyone in the chat. And yeah, good to be back on.
Fantastic. Matt Davies, good to see you as well. I did see you from a distance exiting Dean Court. Don't know if you were happy with just a point, but how you doing, Matt, this evening on this latest episode?
Yeah, good evening, Kirk. I'm well, thanks. Good evening to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you all. Yeah, you would have seen me exiting pretty swiftish on Sunday. It wasn't the most enjoyable experience, barring the first sort of 15, 20 minutes. So yeah, sorry not to have seen you, Kirk. I was straight out of there after the game. Didn't enjoy it one bit.
Okay, and let's just dive into the chat before I come to my final guest this evening. We've got Chris Hubble in the chat, Mark Singleton, good to see you, Morgan Scott, thank you very much. Jean, thank you for your Cherries overseas reaction to that 1-1 against Nottingham Forest. Thank you very much. We've got Mark Cole, Sammy Nell, and Alan from Finland. And the final Bournemouth guest on this Cherries in Focus episode is David Codron from Australia. How are you doing, David?
Good, thanks, Kirk. Good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you.
Okay, let's waste no time. Let's dive into it because we had two fixtures since our last episode. It was Thursday night last week. West Ham won, Bournemouth won. And then obviously on Sunday, it was Bournemouth won, Nottingham Forest won. So I felt it was a good point at West Ham. Points dropped maybe, but a very, very good point. But definitely feel that it was points dropped against Nottingham Forest. But we do need to dive into the fixture a little bit deeper to understand that. We are currently 12th, 27 points on the board. It's another point towards safety, but we're maybe aiming for a little bit more this season. Steve, I mean, let's just go for it because we can't really break the fixtures down because we never do have enough time in these streams. But 1-1 both games. I mean, what you're taking away initially from those fixtures?
Well, I was slightly disappointed at both results. It's a difficult one because I've always said that, you know, any point in the Premier League is a good point, you know, for who we are and where we've been and all the rest of it. But we're in a new era now. And we're not thinking like that. And the run we've been on, the points we've accumulated, the style of football we started to play. And even in these two games, I maybe Forest not so much, but the West Ham game definitely, I thought we were the better side. And probably if you play, I don't know, if that was a cup match and it went to extra time, we come out winners of that. But, you know, they were, same old story. We have an opening period of sort of dominance, really good football, some really good movement, some really nice little patterns of play, right on the front foot. We get an early goal, and we don't really capitalise on that. And I've said, excuse me, similar conversations at halftime during both games. I hope we don't, you know, rue our chances that we've missed. And it turned out to be the case in both matches. It's a shame because, like I said, we should be looking. I really think we should have had 6 points, and we're sitting here with 2.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wanted 4, Matt, but Steve's absolutely correct in this initial conversation we're having. We come out the blocks really well in both of those fixtures, got an early goal, but we didn't kick on. I mean, we did have a very good chance in Semenyo to make it 2-0 at the London Stadium, and I thought that miss could come back and bite, and it did. But again, we score with Sinistera, Cliver, whoever wants to have it again, but we're not putting teams away, are we, when we're on top? And then the game, especially on Sunday, turned ugly. And I think that's what Nottingham Forest wanted. We're going to break it down even further why it got ugly, because it was a lot in that fixture for how it turned out, how it did. But we should be killing teams off at half time when we're not. And that's probably why we took 2 and not 4 or 6.
Yeah, I think echo pretty much what Steve said there. I think weirdly, I was more disappointed with the West Ham result because of the performance was so good. I thought, we're going to a side 6th in the Premier League away from home, and we bossed it. We were the better team. And when you're on top in games like we were first half, you've got to capitalise on it because, as you rightly say, Kurt, it's going to come back to bite you second half, and it was inevitable that it would. When we went in 1-0 at half time, I was thinking they're gonna up it second half. They can't be as bad as they've been first half. We've been so dominant, and it is a joy to watch. But like I said before, when we start games, we're front foot. We're almost strangling the life out of the opposition early on. We're hitting them up far up the pitch. We're pressing well. That's how the goal came about so early, and we've got real impetus. And the teams don't know how to deal with that, particularly teams that are playing at home. They come under pressure, then they come under more pressure from their own fans who start getting on their back. And it's at that period, that crucial point in the game where we've got so much control over it that we've got to hit home the advantage at that point. And as you rightly say, that Semenyo chance to make it 2-0 was the pivotal moment in the game for me. So it's disappointing the way we let that game slip away from us second half. The positive to take is that we're going to a side 6th in the league and we're looking so comfortable. We're looking so assured and in control because we've never, ever really looked like that before, even under Eddie Howe, to go away to a so-called top 6 team or, 6th in the league at the moment and play and to adapt to style of football and play the way we did and have the dominance that we did, really, in many ways, for long periods and come out of it with all the pundits getting all the plaudits saying Bournemouth are the better team. That's the positive to take, that we're able to now do that. But we've just got to hit home, take advantage of the chances when they come along and stay clinical and be clinical in both boxes. That's the next step for me, really, now.
So can you put your finger on it, David? Because Semenyo should have made it 2-0 at West Ham. I mean, that's almost point blank. And I'm wanting him to go low. Does he just think, David, that he just needs to hit the target? I mean, Areola should have no chance in that scenario. But we went in 1-0, and that gives a little bit of hope to West Ham. I didn't think they would come out in the second half and be as bad as they were in the first half. And they got the penalty, which was also sloppy, in my opinion. And you come away from that fixture feeling a little bit deflated. Although I did think it was going to be a good point if we got the point before kickoff.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of the two games. If we had put to bed the West Ham result with a convincing performance against Forest, we would have quickly forgotten the West Ham draw and we would have put it down as a really, really good point. I think in the West Ham game, that chance for Semenyo was critical. But even when we conceded the equaliser, there was still half an hour to go to really put the foot down and go again. And whilst I still think we were the better side, we don't have this ruthless streak within us at the moment that creates the chances that we were creating in that good run, where we would have 8-10 good chances throughout the game. I think West Ham, we had a few in the first half, but good attacks, but no real clear-cut chances in the second half. And in Forest, after we scored, I can't even remember a really, really good chance that we had. So we just have to try and work out all these good attacking areas that we get ourselves into. How do we convert them to create these good chances that we were creating a few months ago?
Yeah, because I feel like, Steve, this style needs to have 11 players playing really well and completely in sync. And we'll come on to it. You've got some wingers in form, some wingers bang out of form. Christie.
Sorry, Kirk. Can I just butt in? My earbuds have just died. Can I just get a change them? Be back in a sec.
Matt, I feel like we're not, as a team at the moment, we haven't got like 11 players banging form and flying. And there are certain players that are overdoing it, not quite on it. I mean, I'm talking about Tavernier, a player that everyone knows I highly rate. And for some reason, he looks like he's not in a good place. He's lost his mojo. He's overdoing it, trying to find some form. But actually, why don't you just sort of simplify your game a little bit to bring you back into a bit of form? And he's trying to do it all on his own. And that's not coming off. And He's playing well at the moment. Cliver looked frustrated after the first 10, 15 minutes against Nottingham Forest. God knows what's going on with Tavernier, as I said. David Brooks has gone to Southampton. it seems like January's just created a bit of an effect through the team, and we look a little bit not disjointed, but we don't look as good as we did a month or so ago.
Yeah, we definitely lost some impetus. I think the January mini break has sort of stopped us in our tracks a little bit. The injuries and the players leave, a few players leaving, a bit of to and froing. So you could say there's some impetus lost there. But I think coming on to obviously I've sort of we've given our analysis of the West Ham game. I think talking about the Nottingham Forest game, I thought we started really well. First 10 or 15 minutes, I was thinking, we're on it here. We get the goal early, which I thought was brilliant. Disappointing from a Forest point of view, but from there, I think you have to credit Nottingham Forest because they had a game plan and their players implemented Nuno's game plan perfectly. They wanted to break the game up. They wanted to make it stop-start. They wanted to stop us in our tracks, in our flow, and I thought they did that brilliantly. And what it did, Kirk, is it moved us away from this front foot football, this high intensity, high press football that we've been used to, and we all of a sudden we were knocking balls long all the time, aimless balls down the channels, and I was thinking we've gone completely away from what we were, particularly on Sunday, and resorting to this. And I suppose you do have to credit the opposition sometimes because I thought, they'll be more than happy, they'll be elated, I think, with the way the game panned out, because at 1-0. You're thinking we're going to kick on from here. This could be, and my mate who I went with on Sunday said, I think this could be 3 or 4-0. That was after he scored the first goal. But we never looked like scoring again. We never kicked on. And they just gradually grew back into the game. They were doubling up on us on the wing. And when you've got a player like Ryan Christie that's not on it, which he wasn't on Sunday, then he takes a knot, he gets his dead leg. When he's not got, because he's our heartbeat, isn't he? He's the energy throughout the team. And when he's not on it, which he wasn't, they started to dictate things in the midfield, and that's how they grew into the game. And we gave them encouragement, and they looked fairly solid at the back as well, to their credit. So as disappointing as it was, it ended up a bit of a stalemate. And the second half was just an awful watch for me. And you're absolutely right, Kurt. There's certain players within our team at the moment that have lost their way, and I think Marcus Tavernier highlights that. He's the main one, isn't he? For whatever reason, he's trying too hard, or it's not coming off for him. He's lost his way a little bit, and maybe there's various reasons for it. Sometimes you can't explain it. Players go through these dips, don't they, in form and confidence. It's up to the manager to address it, isn't it, and up to the players themselves to bring it back again. Because Sunday second half was a real awful watch. It was a terrible advert for Premier League football, to be honest.
Yeah, what quite happened there, David, with the dynamics of the game? Because as I said, we were really, really good, I thought, for the 10, 15 minutes against Nottingham Forest. And I thought we would not win it comfortably, but I fully backed us winning the game before kickoff. And when we get that early goal, I thought we look really good. We look really good. But so much happened in that game that we couldn't keep our rhythm and flow going. And I think you can lean on the officiating, I think didn't help. The way that Forest changed the dynamics of the game, we didn't adapt to it. And it did really turn into a scrap and not a very good watch for the neutral or anyone. But we didn't deal with it and we didn't recover it, I didn't think, David.
No, and I think the turning point in that first half was the dead leg to Christie. I thought he was actually quite decent in getting us up the pitch and getting the balls out wide to Sinistera in that first 15, 20 minutes. But once he took that knock, you could tell that his ability to move around the pitch was impacted. His desire was still there. But we just lost control of that game. We lost the ability to push Forest back. I actually thought the balls into the channel in the first 15 minutes actually pushed them back and was part of our effective strategy of pressing and keeping Forest in their defensive third. It was just once Christie lost that ability to control the midfield that Forest slowly started to get control of the ball and the game. And as you said, the officiating, the constant fouling from both sides, it just removed all flow of that game, and it suited Forest. And it just took that, they just needed that one. I mean, they had a couple of good opportunities in that first half that they didn't take, but they just needed that one goal, and then the onus would be back on us to score again. And unfortunately, that second half was a dirty watch. It was just, It was painful.
Steve, are you back with us?
I'm back in the room. Sorry
You've
about
recovered. That's absolutely fine. So we're just talking about how the dynamics in the game on Sunday especially changed. And I do want to talk about the refereeing, really. I don't care, Steve, what the gender is of the referee. I just want the referee to be there on merit. I want them to be competent. I don't want them to play a role in the game where they actually have too much of a say in how the dynamics and the rhythm and all that happens. I think that's what happened Sunday is the referee would let one non-foul go and then actually realised I probably should have given a foul. So then the next foul that should have been a foul, we let that one go as well. And then in the second half, it felt like the whistle was just going every 30 seconds. And I swear I was going to hear it in my sleep at one point. And I just think like the referee should be there for obvious reasons, but shouldn't play a part like she played on Sunday. She's going to be in the limelight for reasons that we know. I don't care. Just be there on merit and be there with your competency. But to be honest with you, Steve, the officiating in the best league in the world is poor anyway. So this is just not on the referee for Sunday. This is across the board.
No, and it wouldn't be the first time we've seen a performance like that from a male referee either. So there's been plenty of, absolute dog performances by referees over the years. I mean, we've got an army of chants for the referees as it is, and unfortunately, Rebecca just had one of those games where she bought into quite a lot of the shithousery that was going on, the gamesmanship, the cheap trying to buy fouls, and I think early on it was more prevalent in the second half. But I think she sort of bought into it, and it set a precedent, and it kept, like you say, it kept happening. She kept buying it, and I don't think it was just them. I think we were equally to blame for it as well at times. And it takes when you get a serious decision to make, the crowd's already on your back, and it's just escalating a problem that doesn't really need to be there. There's always been a case for just let games flow, and when players are going down just because there's somebody stood behind them and they're falling to their knees and they're just trying to win fouls out, it's on the players somewhat as well, but she's got to be a bit more brave and sort of say, let's play on, lads. There's nothing in that challenge. And that's all it was. It was a case of that. And it's unfortunate because, you're going to get this sort of stupidness around social media, the gender-driven stuff. But like I've said, plenty of male refs over the years have had worse performances than that, I can remember. So it's nothing to do with that. And it's just unfortunate that it just messed up the game a little bit. And like you say, it was a bit of a sorry watch by the end of it all.
Let's just jump in the chat for a little bit then, and let's see what Leslie's got to say. Worst watch Sunday, but we didn't lose. Look forward to Fulham. Come to that later on. Mark Cole says, had much better control in the West Ham match. Sunday was like a game of pinball. Couldn't get our foot on the ball. So Matt, Jean says, I see game management lacking the last two games. And if Ryan Christie has an off day, we're banging trouble. Why is that?
Well, because of what he brings, Kirk. The intensity and the energy that he brings, he leads by example there, and it gets us flowing, doesn't it? Well, the type of style and the football that Iriola wants to play, he's made Ryan Christie pivotal to that in how we map that out. And when he's not on it, we lose control of the midfield. Well, that was certainly the case on Sunday. Lewis Cook was left to do it, but Lewis Cook's playing a different role to Ryan Christie, and he was left to sort of look after the midfield all on his own, really, because you're bringing on, I think he brought on Billing and Scott, so you're bringing on two number 10s, really, in their best position. So you're losing the heartbeat of the team, that general in the midfield that's going to run and make things happen for you. And that, at the moment, is Ryan Christie. Tyler Adams is obviously not fit. He hasn't been part of it so far. So Christie's having to play that role. So it's sadly lacking when we're without him at the moment, and it stuck out like a sore thumb on Sunday. Going back to the officiating, I hope she learns from it, because she was totally out of her depth on Sunday. That has to be said. She was totally out of her depth. She lost control of the football match, and the players were playing up to that, particularly the Forest players. They realised that that they could play up to it. They could go down easily. They could break the game up. It's going to be stop-start. It played into their hands perfectly, and they took full advantage of that because the referee was so out of her depth. I've got to be honest, and I hope she does learn from it. It's not about gender. It's not about sex or anything like that. But that has to be said. And subsequently, the game as a spectacle was ruined partly as a result of that. But I don't think Forest would be too displeased about it, because I think they'd be delighted with the point, to be honest. I think they knew they were in for a game here. They haven't got a good record against us. And I thought Nuno got his tactic. He obviously had that game plan and they got it spot on.
Yeah. Steve, this is the sort of question I was going to be talking to you about before your earbuds ran out of battery. And Leslie says it in the chat. I think Marcus was just a little bit tired last 2 games. I don't think he's nothing to worry about. What's happening to Marcus Tavernier? He looked frustrated. He looks like he's beating himself up at the London Stadium when nothing comes off. If he misplaces a pass, he's frustrated. If he miscontrols, he's frustrated. We know what Marcus Tavernier has in the locker, and I absolutely love the player, but he's got no mojo. He's really lacking form. He come off the bench. He started on the bench, come on at half time, which I absolutely was happy to see. What's happened to Marcus Tavernier, Steve?
Well, it's weird, isn't it? Because for a group of players that was in such great form previously, him being part of that, to just go off the boil like he has in the last few games is a bit of a weird one. I hope it's no more than just a poor spell of form, but there's something quite not right. Whatever he's trying, like you say, he's getting frustrated. He's one of those players, when he gets the ball, he picks it up and he's very nimble. He's very light on his feet. He's very quick, and it gets you excited. But then he just seems to just drive and into a position where he doesn't really know what he's going to do with it, whether he's going to cut inside, take someone down the line, take a player on. It's a little bit of indecision within his game. And all he ends up trying to do most of the time is come inside and get a shot away. It's almost like he's trying to, he's just trying to emulate that Fulham goal every time. And it just gets a bit one-dimensional, a bit easy to read. And I feel for him. I mean, I even noticed we're quite flexible with the front three and they have been swapping over. It's not really been happening for him wherever. And going back to the thing we were saying about Ryan Christie and him not performing and us not performing, if that's the case, I do think there's an onus on the wide players to take a bit more responsibility as well, because there hasn't been massive numbers being contributed by the wide players as much as I expect Iriola wants, because it's mainly been on Dom throughout our season so far. I know they've chipped it. Obviously Kluivert's got one on the weekend, but they've been a bit more sporadic than I think he would have liked. And I think Dom needs that support, because if Dom's not firing, like I think we found when you could always go back to the Liverpool game. And again, I know Liverpool are a higher echelon of opposition, but he was kept out of that game, and we couldn't really come up with anything else. He was kept out of the Forest game. I thought really he looked a bit isolated to me at times. I think he gets his early chance at West Ham, but after that, he was all right. Didn't really there wasn't much he was feeding off of. He was he-turn provider in that game for Semenyo, and he misses a chance. And it's those sorts of, he's putting stuff on plate for other people and they're not finishing it, and it's been left to him. And I just think those wide players need to step up with a few more numbers. The Christie one, I think Alex Scott should be good enough to come in and do that role. I know what Matt's saying about as a 10, but he's got a lot of energy. He's a young player. I just think he needs a bit more time to develop into that position a bit more. Lewis Cook, I thought, was brilliant against Forest. Actually, I thought he was the better of the two out of him and Christie by far. I thought he had a good game at West Ham as well. See, that's the thing. I mean, when we don't have Christie in the team, it's almost like we've said it before. Well, I've said it before, that it's almost like the team level drops a little bit, because there's that he's that sort of ever Duracell bunny that runs around forever, and everyone sort of seems to follow that.
He's a catalyst, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry?
He's the engine of the team.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, I don't want to say that the rest of the team thrive off that, because they shouldn't do. They should be the same levels with or without him. But you can quite clearly see in the cup games we've had, when he's not been there and then you've brought him on, the difference in halves and the difference in team ethic and energy levels is just chalk and cheese. So it's another one of these little quandaries that Iriola's going to have to get around, because he's not going to be available every game, and we've got to be able to deal without him being there. That's why I'm glad I'm not the manager and he is.
Paul from Australia says Tavernier only 2 goals so far this season. Charlie Lanners says Tav is desperate for a goal, almost trying too hard. But he's not the only one, David.
No.
Semenyo didn't look like Semenyo on Sunday. He looks like he had been worked out and Forrest done a job on him. And I've said this about Semenyo. He's a great footballer. He's very direct, comes off the chalk, angles himself towards the goal, gets a shot away right or left footed. But if you can nullify that, have you dealt with Semenyo? That's a question potentially for the future. Someone I do want to talk about, though, David, is Kluivert, who has had some really good spells in that good form that we had. He irritated me on Sunday, absolutely irritated me. He got frustrated by decisions not going his way. I understand that, but he didn't deal with his emotions at all. He was silly before the halftime whistle, and how he stayed on the pitch, I'll have no idea. He was on a yellow, should have gone for the first challenge that he misplaced. And then about 30 seconds later, he goes and pushes someone over. I mean, I was shouting from the North Stand, get him off to Andoni Iraola. I wanted him off at half time. Kluivert's a good player, didn't deal with his, discipline at all, and he was lucky.
Yeah, he was very petulant on Sunday. In that first half when he thought he was fouled a couple of times, and then you could see he was losing his head. And I thought he may have been hooked at half time, but Andoni obviously went with him in that second half. Maybe that was Semenyo going off. But for a player to know that they're on a yellow card and to lunge in for a challenge while the other team is breaking out of their defensive half is just an absolutely diabolical decision. And he got away with it. And then after getting away with that one, he's trying to press again, which is all good and well, but you've got to be smart enough to not foul, and you've got to stop before you get to the player. And his decision to barge the Nottingham Forest player in the back, we're just lucky we had the referee that we had. I think we're actually lucky we had the referee that we had on Sunday, because I think 99% of the other referees would have sent him off.
Should have been sent off.
Correct. And
but it's not the first time we've seen this. And I was saying to a few people, it's a bit of, I don't know if it's the over-aggressive nature of our play now, because we saw Semenyo get away with one a few weeks back where he was already on a yellow and they pulled the shirt back and was just a bit too over-aggressive with it. And I don't know if that's a byproduct of the way we play now, because we are an aggressive press.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even Christie fouls a few times a game, but he has a bit of more of a controlled approach that if he gets the yellow card, he'll know to step it off. Whereas, Semenyo in that game against, can't even remember who it was against, but and then Kluivert, it was just silly. And I think the referee, she tried to keep 11 men on the pitch where she probably shouldn't have in that case. And well, I don't know. I'm sure we'll come to the Phil Billing incident soon, but ended up with not 11 versus 11.
It wasn't. And Steve, you have got dad duties very, very soon at 8:30. So I quickly want to ask you about that incident late in the game. Philip Billing on the bench. Philip Billing comes off the bench. Don't think he really got himself into the fixture. It's not his fault that he caught on halfway line. I think Alex Scott maybe gave the ball away. But Steve, when it happened on the halfway line, he was stopping the attack. I thought it was your bog standard tactical foul, stopping opposition in their way, going for an attack, and it's a yellow card. Now, the referee gave a red. I was shocked. Now, when you watch it back, and I think you saw it as well through some footage inside the stadium when I caught up with you after the game, you said it was a red. And then you showed me. And I still think it's a tactical foul, but it's stupid from Philip Billing. He has gone down the back, down the Achilles of the player with his studs, and it is a red. It is a red. Has he technically got this wrong, or is he frustrated because he's not a first team starter at the moment?
You'd have to ask Phil that. I mean, I don't know. There could be a case of that. It's just unforgivable, really, because I think if we keep, I know the game was crap and it got really messy and choppy, but I didn't see them really causing us any problems at all. If anything, we were the ones that were causing the problems. I mean, they were few and far between, but at least we had some chances of note in the second half. Didn't think they really caused much of a threat. And had we kept 11 on the pitch for that final 10 minutes, who knows? We might have snuck that game. So I think it's really really bad from him. It's an awful challenge. It looked bad in real time from where I was, because I was right behind it, and you could see what he was doing. You could see it wasn't. So when we play, you go to make a tactical foul, you're either pulling the shirt or you're going to give a tap on the ankles so that they go over. So you come from the side. You could see from where I was, he just went straight down the back, and you just thought that if he gets away with that, he's lucky. And I thought he had to start with, but obviously, yeah, she saw it a bit better than I did, and it looked bad from where I was. When I've watched it back, there was a case. Some people were saying that, oh, he's just been running back and he's sort of run onto his leg, but you watch it again and his definite foot movement onto the back of his ankle. So I think it's done on purpose, and I think he's very silly. There is probably a case to say he's very frustrated at the minute, and you could understand why, because for a couple of seasons now he's been one of our top dogs. Really, he's been one of our key players that we've needed and called on, and he's chipped in with the numbers and put the performances in. But under Andoni, he doesn't seem to rate him for whatever reason, whether it's to do with his lethargic style or he doesn't commit to the press as much as the others. I don't know, but it's just not happening for him, and I just think I think the writing might be on the wall, whether we like it or not, for Phil Billing. I think he wants away, in my opinion, and I don't think Andoni's that bothered about whether he goes or not. It's a sad state of affairs, because I think he's been a pretty good servant for us, and he's gone through quite a lot, but stick with the fans at times, and he's stuck with his task, and he's come out the better player for it. And he's from going from a player that was sort of almost on for 3 relegations at one point to what was regarded as one of our probably our best player, and people trying to sort of cherry pick him off us. It's a sad, it's just a shame it's ended up a little bit tetchy towards the end, and I hope it isn't the end, but only Phil will know that, because I think he can offer something. We showed that against Man United when he came on against Palace. He's played a part, and yeah, I've warmed to him over the years. I wasn't his biggest fan to start with, so I hope he sticks around, but he has been with us a long time now, and I think it might be getting to the end.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have. I've definitely bought into Philip Billing, especially through the Championship. Right, Steve, going to let you go because I think you have got to go. Very, very quickly, do you have a 1-minute sort of preview of Fulham? Because we're going to be talking about that very soon. Any thoughts on that game? Yeah,
I find Fulham very hot and cold this season. They're 1 minute you think, oh, actually, they're not too bad. They watch the game, they're decent performance. They got Jimenez seemed to have hit a purple patch a little while ago where he was getting a few goals and he hadn't scored for such a long period of time. You thought, oh, maybe the guy's back now, and they've got the threat of Harry Wilson. We know all about him from one side, Willian on the other, some decent delivery and a big guy in the centre. But on the flip side of that, defensively, I've seen them this season. I think they've looked awful, absolutely awful. So I think it'll be a high scorer, this one. I think it would be, yeah. I think we will win it. I'll go the Cherries Red Army 3-1.
Lovely.
And then I'll leave you with that.
Leave us with that. That's our first score prediction of the evening, Steve. Hopefully see you in London and have a
take care, all.
week. Cheers, Steve.
See you Saturday, Steve.
Right, Matt, let's just quickly sort of reverse back to that Philip Billing. We're going to talk about some really good stuff in the moment because we are talking about some stuff that's sort of frustrating us and cost us points in the Premier League. But look, you're going to have your thoughts on Philip Billing and that incident of the sending off. But I can also go back to Lloyd Kelly for the penalty at West Ham. I think he's frustrated when he gets the wrong side of Kudos and then he puts his arm on him and then he gets his legs caught in between Kudos's legs and gives away the penalty. I think Senesi was sloppy. I think he got done by a Winnie and then moments later he goes in with a rash challenge, and we're talking about Cliver. There's a little thing that's going on at the moment where I don't know if it's just we're over passionate or we're a little bit frustrated. Is training getting to the players at the moment, because this intensity that Andoni was talking about, it's not going to be easy. It took us a while to get going and then we hit some real form, but actually, is it a slog going into training and actually come match day? I'm a little bit tired. I don't know what's going on, Matt, but we're jumping into challenges. We're getting a little bit frustrated. We didn't deal with Sunday and we need to sort this out very quickly.
Yeah, we do. I think it's frustration mainly. I think you're in the Iraola's in his sort of third phase of management throughout this season, really. And the first phase was to get to grips with the Premier League, get some wins under his belt, get to know his team, get to formulate, adopt a style of play and tactics and what he wanted to do, how he wanted to set up and get that message across to his players. That took time to evolve and build. And then once he did that, and we finally hit the ground running. We got result after result after result. Now, teams are wising up to it. Teams are starting to know. They've watched us. They've watched us away from home. They've watched us at home in all these games that we've been successful in. This is the Premier League. You've got a lot of astute managers, tacticians, coaches, scouts, you name it. People, sports science, the lot at the top level. Clubs are wising up to the way that we play football now and the way Andoni Iraola wants to play football. So his next challenge is to combat that, because at the moment that's what's happening. And Nuno did a job on us on Sunday. I'll stand by that. He absolutely did a tactical job on us, and it worked a treat. So the next challenge for Iraola is to overcome these frustrations, overcome the players' frustrations, and work with the players to overcome it, because that is 100%, I think, what's happening. That's 100% what happened with the players that you've outlined there: Philip Billing, Lloyd Kelly, Marcus Senesi, and Justin Kluivert. It's frustration boiling over is exactly what it is, because we're not now having things our own way that we were getting to have from sort of November onwards to now. Our wings have been clipped a little bit. Our momentum's been halted a little bit. So it's up to us now to find a way to get through that, because what tends to happen it is a psychological thing, and the game is such a mental thing, isn't it? And like everything in life, it's about confidence, it's about momentum, and when you lose that, it gets in there, and it's up. It takes a great manager then, and a great manager all round to be able to overcome that, because it's not just about your ability with a football, then, is it? So it'll be interesting to see now how things evolve in the next period of games. I pinpointed these two games. I think I've not written off West Ham away, but I thought that if we were going to get beat there, we needed to at least take 4 points out of 6 from Nottingham Forest home and Fulham away. Now we've taken a point from Forest. I would have expected that to be 3, I'll be honest. We need to win Saturday, really. Saturday is a big game for us, because make no bones about it, we're not safe yet. We're not out of the woods yet. Nobody's talking about us in the relegation mix whatsoever, which frightens me to death, and I'm sure it does you boys and everybody watching, because we're not even in the thinking, are we, for relegation anymore? That can soon turn. We've only got to get a couple of bad results. You look at the fixtures we've then got: Newcastle away, Manchester City home. I think we've got Arsenal away coming up.
Got to go Wolves away as well.
Want to go Wolves away, yeah. Gary O'Neill, he's going to be bang up for that again, and it's a tough one. We've got some tough games coming up. So for me, Saturday is a big football match, and I concur with what Steve said. I think it's 2 very evenly matched football teams on Saturday, with similar styles up to a point. Certainly similar squads in terms of technical ability. I think where we're at, and that shows in the league table. We're always sort of neck and neck, aren't we? Neck and neck in the Championship, neck and neck for long periods, really, last season, till they pulled away a little bit. And here we are again, neck and neck. There's not much between us. So it could come down to really fine margins on Saturday, and it'll be really interesting to see.
Okay, so let's talk about Fulham in just a moment, David. But I feel like we need to talk about some positive stuff, because it has been some frustrating stuff over Nottingham Forest and West Ham. Was a good point at West Ham, by the way. I'm going to keep saying that because I think it was a good point. Let's talk about a couple of players very, very quickly. Sabani, I think, is doing really well at the moment. He's played single game, I think, in the Premier League. He's really growing as a footballer. Could be one of these centre-backs that we don't have for very long, but he seems a great lad. He seems committed to the club, and I think he's playing very, very well. And actually, his passing was almost Marcos Senesi-like on Sunday. So, Sabani, did he have a good game on Sunday?
Oh, he did. I wouldn't go as far as saying his passing was good as Senesi, because Senesi's balls into the channel quality for us. But Zabani is a solid centre back. Really takes care of the centre forwards that he comes up against. And I think our whole back four looks pretty settled at most part at the moment. I think with Smithy coming back in and Lloyd Kelly, I think, had a very good game against West Ham, penalty aside. I think the whole back four looks really, really good at the moment. It's just these moments of concentration, these lapses of concentration in games that seem to cost us, which is, I mean, you've got to expect that, you're not going to be perfect for 90 minutes. And we just have to make sure that we've got more than one goal in us for each game. But yeah, I'm very, very impressed with Zabani. As I said, I think it's going to be very difficult to hold on to him for a long time. But as long as he's in the Bournemouth shirt, I'm going to keep enjoying these performances.
Do you get a little bit scared though, David, when Senesi gets isolated one-on-one, because his pace is definitely there to be had?
Yes, and I don't think Zabani is rapid either. I think both of them lack pace, and for the most part, they're pretty good in terms of positioning themselves not to get isolated. Senesi did unfortunately have that one situation with Awonyi on Sunday where he rightfully had to pull out of that challenge, because the last thing you want is a red card in the first half for denial of a goal scoring opportunity. And you just got to ride your luck at times. And on that occasion, that finish was poor and went straight at Neto. But yes, I mean, there are weaknesses in the games of our centre backs. We just have to make sure that their positioning and their game management prevents those weaknesses from being exposed and exploited as often as possible. If they didn't have any weaknesses, they wouldn't be playing for us.
No. And Matt, when Andoni Iraola starts to look at the players leading up to Fulham and who he's going to pick, there'll be someone on the training ground at the moment, I think, that's confident that his name should be on the team sheet, and that's Sinisterra. Really is growing as a Bournemouth player. Scored the goal in the game on Sunday. Clivert, I think, wants it. But Sinisterra looks like the only winger at the moment that's really hungry. Really, really hungry. I think he can at times overdo it, but he is the real goal threat at the moment.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and it's taken him a little while, isn't it? To be fair, to find his feet and find his form with us. But he looks a real threat. He's got real pace. He's got real ability. Obviously, real quality. He can come inside. He knows he knows how to pick a pass. He knows how to find the net. And he can beat a man. And he looks like the one who can unlock things for us at the moment. He looks like the form player up front, Dom aside, who was really well marshalled against Forest, I must say, by their centre backs on Sunday. They really did take good care of him, albeit that we didn't get anybody close enough to him. I didn't think Dom again was having to come deep. It was not the style of football that we've seen in previous weeks under Iraola, wasn't it? It was almost shades of O'Neill and, dare I say it, Scott Parker on Sunday at times, particularly that second half. It turned really turgid, and I was sort of thinking, why have we've suddenly transformed from where we're at to this, lumping balls, aimless balls, and that were coming straight back at us, so disjointed. But you have to credit the opposition for that. But Sinisterra was a bright light for me. That faded a little bit, I suppose, as the game went on. But he started like a house on fire, and obviously he was unlucky not to be credited with the goal, wasn't he? Really. But I think he's worked himself into a position now where he deserves his place. He deserves his place on that wing because he is the one shining light at the moment. I'm waiting for Alex Scott. I thought he ran the show against Swansea in the Cup, which I expected him to. He's come back from injury, so I'm waiting for him to come to life again, really, in the Premier League, because he was that good against Swansea, and which I expected him to be. You thought he would stand out against that opposition. He did it all last year in the Championship. Absolute quality, but he's played a bit part, hasn't he, since he's come back from injury. Didn't really get into the game, I felt, on Sunday at all. I think this game is tailor-made for him on Saturday. I would actually potentially play him in the 10 on Saturday, as long as Ryan Christie and Lewis Cook are both fit. I think this could be tailor-made for him, because I think there is an opportunity for him to create with possibly Sinisterra and Semenyo out wide. But I'm sure we're going to go into that, Kirk, about the team lineup. So I don't want to go chapter and verse on that again.
Well,
can I just
go
jump
for
in?
it. Go for it, David.
about Sinisterra as well. He's actually quite pivotal to our set piece regime as well. He seems to be one of the only. I mean, I know Senesi has scored against Man United, but he seems to be the only one who can find a bit of space to win a header.
Attack a ball. Yeah.
He doesn't really attack it. He drifts into that near post area, and for some reason, the opposition managers haven't identified this. But he flicks it on. He flicks it on. He flicked it on against Palace for Senesi. He flicked it onto the post against Newcastle for Solanke. That Solanke ended up scoring, and he had his own flick on header against Spurs that went over the bar. His ability in the air is something that we don't have around. And I know, we mentioned that Dom Forest game where he hadn't scored headers, and he scored a couple of headers in that game. But he's very, very vital for us in a lot of different facets of our game.
He's been getting some tips off Kiefer Moore before he headed off to Ipswich. Don't you worry about that, David. It was very similar to the goal at QPR, wasn't it? The equaliser at QPR, the goal on Sunday.
I think Moore, in that one, Moore just stood on the goal line and it just came through and nobody could get around him.
Yeah. But okay. Right, we're edging towards
a little bit more nifty than Kiefer.
Okay, we're edging towards then the fixture on Saturday. We're in London again against Fulham, Craven Cottage. I tell you what, don't mind a fixture at Craven Cottage. Can you please subscribe and hit the like button? Let's talk about Fulham. Okay, so we are away from home. We have a decent record against Fulham. It was 2-2 at Craven Cottage last season. Both teams go into this fixture looking to either keep 12th or try and get to 12th. So both teams are 12th and 13th, and an opportunity for us to try and get back to winning ways. And Matt, you're talking about some players that could be part of this game. Fulham are strong at home. If you look at the 7 wins they've had this season, they win pretty much at home, 6 at home. So they don't win many on the road. So like Steve said, hot and cold. But yeah, when you're looking at the squad, I think Alex Scott is being managed at the moment. I think he had that sort of relapse with the City incident. So he is our bright spark. He is our future. So we've got to protect him. I mean, I'm more interested to know if we're going to have a second striker on the bench, because Unal's waiting for his visa. And surely that gets done this week. Don't get me started on Inigo Perez and the assistant and his work permit. But surely when we buy a player on loan, potentially an obligation to buy him permanently in the summer, a visa's no problem. I mean, he's going to be on the bench on Saturday, isn't he?
He has to be, because we need attacking options and as many as possible on Saturday, because as we've already highlighted, Fulham's threat is going forward. And the key for me, as it usually is in these games, is going to be the midfield. We have to get to grips with Paulinho, Pereira and Kearney, because they are a quality trio in that midfield. So this is where I think Alex, technically excellent, very, very good footballers, all of them. So this is where I think Alex Scott comes into it, because as long as Cook and Christie are fit, who are both technically very good, Christie with his run-in, but he's technically proved that he's very good as a footballer in that position. Lewis Cook, we all know as well. We need that creativity from Alex Scott, I think, in the 10. I think it's tailor-made for him coming up against that trio. But we also need options up front. We need somebody maybe to come off the bench and mix things up if we need to do that. So I think it's crucial that he gets his visa before Saturday, because this is where the game's going to be won and lost for me. They are susceptible at the back. They don't look great defensively. We saw that in the fixture on Boxing Day. We put 3 past them, could have been more. And we dominated the football match that day, didn't we? So to be able to do so again, we're going to have to get to grips with the midfield, but really, really carry that attacking threat. And he could be crucial to playing a part in that, along with the likes of Scott, Sinisterra, and obviously Solanke as well.
Yeah, because David, they even threw away a 2-0 lead at Turf Moor on Saturday. As I said, they don't have much success away from home. They've got 1 win in the last 7. And of those 7 games, they've only scored in 2. So there's a fixture here for us to really go and attack and rediscover ourselves. And I think there will be goals in this game when we come to score predictions in a bit. But yeah, it's not a fly in Fulham, is it?
No, and that's probably the only part that scared me is that, which doesn't really scare me, but gives me a little bit of apprehension, is the fact that once again, Forest was a game that we thought went in expecting to win. This one being away from home, we might not have that same level of expectations, but it's definitely something where it's a really winnable game for us. And if you couple that with how poor they were at Dean Court, just hope there's not a level of complacency feeling that this game is going to be easy to win, because it's not. But it's definitely something that if we attack it with the same level of intensity that we have in November, then it's right. It's there for us to put in a decent performance and give ourselves a chance of a win.
Yeah, David, just to let you know, Neil says Sabani has been measured in the top 10 fastest players in the Premier League this season. I mean, it's...
I'd like to see that. Oh, that's staggering for me.
It's like Billing not really working hard, but actually a stat can tell you he does work hard. Yeah, so...
How many meters is that? Anyway, we can go into that another time.
Matt, let's dive over to what you were talking about. Let's go on to this one and show it on the screen so everyone can see it. Right, that was the lineup against Nottingham Forest on Sunday. What are you looking to do with that lineup then? Because Kirkes didn't look too happy actually after the game. I don't know if there was something just before the final whistle, maybe not us having the corner right at the end. I'm not sure if it was that. Maybe the frustration with the referee performance and the Billing sending off. I don't know. Is Kirkes potentially come into this side? And like you've spoken about, is it Kluivert out after his frustrating day?
Yeah, I think probably I would go for the reasons that I've already said. I would probably maybe go with Alex Scott in the 10 and maybe just bring Kluivert out for this one. Hasn't been performing at his best certainly against Forest, but maybe in the last few weeks. I think this is tailor-made for Alex Scott. Apart from that, I'd probably keep it as is. There is
Roman
a case
Faith?
for Sorry?
Roman Faith?
Yeah, I wouldn't bring him into the starting 11. Yeah, I'd have him on the bench as an option, but I'd certainly would. Well, providing Ryan Christie and the midfielders are going to be fit, I wouldn't bring Favre into the starting 11 at the moment. Keep him on the bench, maybe give him some game time if we can later on in the game, depending on how it's going, how we want to do things. But there is a case for Kirkes because from an attacking perspective, he's a brilliant option. He is literally a wing back, isn't he? So the way he could potentially link up with Sinistera down that left hand side could be electric from an offensive point of view. But Lloyd Kelly is the Rolls Royce, and he's a complete footballer. He lets himself down on occasions, which is disappointing. But he's human. Everybody does. He's not the only player to do so. But there were certain times in the game on Sunday that he's got every attribute that you would want from whether he's a centre half or a left back. Defensively, he has every single attribute going: his athleticism, his build, his height, his technical ability, the way he reads the game, his distribution when he's on it. You name it, he's got it. So I think, if he's fit and he's okay, I would start with Lloyd Kelly. But Kirkes is definitely a great option to have as well. Maybe later in the game, if we are looking to win it at 1-1 or 2-2 and go for the game. He's certainly an option. But other than that, Kirk, I think I'd be keeping it as is. So the only change for me would be Scott for Kluivert.
Yeah, I'm really looking for Semenyo to have a really good game. I think he's due one. I think he didn't deal with Sunday at all, and he came off a half-time. I've heard it's nothing serious. I think he just had a few knocks, but really feel like Semenyo needs to rediscover himself very, very quickly. If you now gets the green light, David, how does he fit into this team? Is he simply back up for Dom if Dom picks up a knock? Or can you now come into this and actually have two strikers in the game tactically?
At some point in the game, potentially. I don't think he'll start, and definitely not in his first appearance, but you do need two strikers in a squad that if you need to chase the game, if you need to chase the game or you want to go and try and win it at 1-1 or 2-2, that you have the ability to put two strikers on the pitch. So we'll have to wait and see when his visa arrives and how he sort of integrates into this team. But I wouldn't expect him to go straight in as a starter. I would expect him to be a backup for Dom and a substitute in his first few appearances.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up, if I can, Matt, I'm just going to bring up the Fulham lineup. You might have seen it already, but let me just switch this over and see if I can get it on the screen. Let's just see how Fulham lined up in that game against Burnley. Just trying to see if it's pretty similar to how they lined up against us. I mean, I can remember Tovey playing on the right-hand side. Andros Pereira was at Dean Court. Palinha's obviously a good centre midfielder for them. But yeah,
Willian will play.
Willian, well, which is a rare thing because he doesn't play many games against us because he either gets suspended or injured, I think. But
is Jimenez injured or is he just?
Yeah, I was going to say, is Jimenez not playing then? Is he injured?
He didn't on Saturday, so not sure. If any Fulham fans are watching this back on replay, do let us know in the comments if Jimenez is injured or not. Didn't play, yeah.
And also Tom Kearney.
Sorry, you go, Matt.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so also Tom Kearney in the midfield for Harrison Reed.
On the bench was Tom Kearney, and they've got Brozier as well.
You just answered my question, Kirk, because I saw, looking at it before, number 62 was a Josh King, and I wondered, did they sign him in January? But no, it's a youth player that they've got.
It is. David, they've got Armando Brozier from Chelsea. He was linked with a few clubs in the January deadline day, and he's going to want to show himself. I mean, he's not got far to travel from Chelsea to Fulham. I think it's just on loan at the moment, but he might actually start this fixture for them.
Well, I suppose it depends on what the status of Jimenez is, because I think if he's available and fit, then he starts, and Broya and Munoz are very capable backups, substitute options for Marco Silva. But yes, I think they've definitely got some attacking options, and the attacking options that they didn't have when they came to Dean Court, they were very toothless. They didn't have any influence in the game at all, and that is, I feel it's going to be a different story. We're going to have a lot more. We're going to be up against it a lot more than obviously we were in the home fixture.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, I don't mind if Jimenez is fit because I feel like that's a strength battle. I know he's had some really good performances for them, I think, and he's been a Premier League player for a long time, but I'm quite happy with Sabani going up against him from a strength point of view. And then he's not the quickest. So where you've got that concern with Senesi, it's players that are really rapid that worry me when we get isolated in areas. If we go in attack and we get turned over, then that's a concern for me. But this is the style when we're on form. This is the style. It's high risk, high reward. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's cutting the supply to him, Kirk, and cutting the supply. Don't start letting Willian pull the strings, and that stems from that comes from the midfield. I go back to what I say. That comes from cutting the supply in the middle of the park, and that's where Christie and Cook will be so pivotal on Saturday. And then offloading the ball to Alex Scott to let him pull the strings for us. Let's not have it the other way around, because, like we said earlier, they've got real quality, and we've all highlighted it there, haven't we? The quality they've got in offensive positions, and for me, identical squad. I think they've got the same level of technical ability and quality in their squad that we have, at least. And if you start letting Willian run the show, we'll be in trouble, and that's where Jimenez comes into play then. And Tovey Reed gets involved. So yeah, really, really crucial that we cut that supply in midfield.
Yeah, I think that Willian Smith duel is going to be the one to watch on Saturday, where the smudge can nullify.
Interesting. Yeah, that will be interesting.
And no one's outrunning Sabani, because I absolutely trust what Neil Whedon's saying. If he says that Sabani's the top 10 fastest defender, whatever he said earlier on in the chat, I'm having it. Right, Steve Hensman earlier on, before he left us, said that it would be Bournemouth 3, Fulham 1. Well, this is your opportunity. This is your 60-second warning. Let's go for it then on episode 29, because it's Fulham against AFC Bournemouth on Saturday in the Premier League. Time for your score predictions. Go for it now. When the video plays, please do go for it. Nothing like a delay, but we're live. This is what happens, live and interactive here on Cherries Red Army. Please do smash the like button on this video and do subscribe to the channel. Less than 20 away from 2,000 subscribers. I feel like we're going to get there very, very, very soon. I feel like I've been saying that since September, but we are getting so close. Thank you so much as well to our monthly members and anyone who donates to the channel. You can become a member or donate at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. Details in the description below. Anyone who supports the channel in any shape or form, thank you so much. Even if you hit the like button on these videos, you follow us on Instagram, you follow us on Twitter, you're all doing a great job spreading Cherries Red Army, aren't they, Matt?
Oh, brilliant job, and hats off to those monthly subscribers and contributors financially to the channel. It's wonderful to see. You know, we're not the only AFC Bournemouth fan channel, but the fact that people watch us and they're debating with us and they're having their say on things. This is what this is all about, and we're just so grateful for it, Kirk.
Yeah. Quickly flying up the chat because I did see this earlier on. A kind Fulham fan who watches us regularly, Wayne Wilde. Evening, guys, from a Fulham fan. Cannot wait to the game on Saturday against Bournemouth. Think there will be a very, very good game. Hope so. Hope we don't lose, mind, but hope it is a very, very good game. Right, let's go into the chat. We got Gene from the United States. He's going for Cherries 2. Fulham 1. Mark Singleton's going for 2-2. Ollie Windsor's going for 2-1. Is that for Fulham, Ollie, or is that a Cherries 2-1? Morgan's going for a high scoring 9-0. I think Morgan will come back in with another score in a moment. What do you reckon, Matt?
Yeah, 100%.
He should have a fiver on you.
Mark Cole is going for 3-2. Neil Whedon's going for a 2-2. We've also got a 2-2 Fulham and Bournemouth. We'll stop there for the moment. Right, David, great to have you on this episode from Australia. What's your score prediction?
I want to go a 2-1 win, but I think it's probably going to be a point. I think it's probably going to be a 1-1 for me. Hopefully we can nick it.
Liam Humby's going for 3-0. Chris Hubble's going for 3-1 away win. Wayne thinks Raul Jimenez is out and Fulham win 2-1 without him. We've got Alan for a 3-2 win to the Cherries. Roy from New Zealand. Tough one to call. 2-2 head, but fingers crossed for the Cherries Red Army. 3-1. Morgan's back in with the famous Cherries Red Army 3-1. David in the chat, no excuses this Saturday. Fulham, Bassi, Awobi. So they've got players back or injured. Looks like Wilson, Jimenez, Traore injured. Oh, okay. So they're missing a few players. Thank you very much for that, David. Matt, do I need your score prediction? I haven't done your score prediction yet, have I? Where have I got to?
Yeah, you haven't done
your
mine.
score prediction, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we've got such a good record against Fulham. I've got so many happy memories of going to the Cottage over the years. I mean, you know, the going back to the 3-1 in 1987 when we were promoted under Harry Redknapp. I was only a kid then, a very young kid, but I still remember it. First time we were ever promoted to the old second division, the Championship. And since then, it just seems like we've lost to Fulham very, very few times, really. We've got such a great record against them, haven't we? The 5-1 in the Championship season. With Steve Cook smashing it in the top corner, Brett Pittman doing Scott Parker and slotting it away. And I remember a 3-0 there a few years ago with Brooksy on fire, Callum Wilson. Just so many good memories. So the fact we got such a good record, it can be psychological. I've got to go. I'll always go positive, like I always say. I'm going to go 2-1 to Bournemouth. I'm going to go with David's heart rather than his head, because I probably feel the same, to be honest, 2-1, but maybe my head says we'll have to settle for a point. But I'm going to go for us to edge it 2-1, an entertaining game, and for us to nick it maybe fairly late on in the second half.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean that way as well. As you said, we have got a good record there. I think we're due a Premier League win in 2024. And I think Saturday could be the day at the Cottage. Hoping to be there, hoping to capture a vlog for you as well on the channel. So do follow us and hit the notification bell. But I'm going to match that 2-1 to the Cherries. David, we are wrapping up this latest episode here on our weekly show on Cherries Red Army. Thank you so much for contributing. Your final thoughts for episode 29.
More so that, the past two games were an opportunity missed, but there's plenty more games to play for, and we're 12th in the table. We're looking up. I'm looking up. I'm not looking down. And I think there's a lot of opportunities to come. And Saturday should hopefully be enjoyable. And thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And Matt, very soon, potentially round the corner, is an opportunity to dive into the FA Cup quarter-final. So some frustrating moments in the last two fixtures, but very much, as David said, in a positive place, and a result on Saturday, and we'll all be smiling again.
Oh, mate, I'm 100% with David. The positive is we haven't been beaten. 2 games where we've been negative about them, and we've said we should have won the games, and whatever the performances haven't been great, particularly Forest. We haven't been beaten in those 2 games. We've still taken 2 points. It's ticked us over. We're still in 12th. We still got that gap. Yes, we've got to be mindful of it. That can close up with a couple of bad results. Saturday is so important, and you know what happens, Kirk, when we make the same prediction, me and you. It comes in. How many times has that happened this season? A fair few. So double positive there for me. Great to be on as ever. Love talking football. Love talking Bournemouth with you boys and everyone in the chat and everybody who's watching. Let's have a good day out on Saturday. I'm there. Away days in London are just brilliant, aren't they? Particularly Fulham, one of my favourites, by the Thames. I'll see you there, Kirk, and we'll be in the boozer, won't we, with everybody else, and we'll have a good old day no matter what happens.
Yeah, no one in the chat or anyone watching this video do anything stupid or trust me and Matt 100%. It could be just a fluke. But if we win 2-1, there might be something in it. Likely just to be a fluke because I don't get many score predictions right. Thank you so much to everyone who's checked out this video, not especially, but opposition fans as well. Thank you very much. If you are a Fulham fan, do tell us a little bit about your team leading up to Saturday and what your score prediction is. But thank you so much, wherever you are in the world. Thank you to all our contributions at the moment going through the channel and all our supporters. We absolutely love it. But look after yourself between now and kickoff because it is a trip to London. And this time we are going to try and get 3 points and bring them back to Dean Court. Look after yourself from me, David, Matt, and also Steve Hensman. We will see you on the next one. Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.